You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, for 16 years, 2,700 episodes. How many podcasts do you know that are 16 years old and still actively broadcasting on a daily or weekday basis, I should say? We don't do Saturdays and Sundays because we have to pray a lot and be in the fetal position after a full week of shows. We have to heal from all the talking and the wonderful friends we made during the show. So in the meantime, help us heal even more. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss for your show, family and friends, to facebook.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss, one of the TikTokity. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book success. Today we have an amazing young man on the show with us. We're going to be talking to him about his book called Stealing Forbidden Dreams, out November 10th, 2023. Edward L. Alban joins us on the show. We're going to be talking about his insights and everything else, and talking about what goes into this. I believe it's a novel. And so we'll get into that. And as we do that, we're going to find out some of his things that he's done with his life. He was born in Ecuador in 1938. What? In the U.S., he's been since 1952, and he's a retired professor of economics, married to Joanne. She only has a first name, evidently, since 1965, and 2 children. And to give you a context of how long he's been married, I was born in 1968, so I'm 58 now, plus 3. Congratulations. Is that 60 plus years there, married?
65.
65! Holy crap.
No, wait, I'm sorry, 60. I'm sorry.
60?
Yeah, just 60.
60. Well, that's a long time. I'm about 2 years away from it. So give us, Edward, your .coms or any websites, social media, any place you want people to find out more about you on the internet.
My webpage is real easy, edwardalban.com.
Mm-hmm. And so give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your novel, Stealing Forbidden Dreams?
Well, it is a lot about sleep and about dreams. No question about that. But it is about a character that is from Ecuador that has a lot of my problems or my talents, my predilections, my faults. She's an insomniac. Okay, so that led to the business of sleep and dreams, which I had to research because I'm not a doctor and I'm not a neurologist, but I was fascinated by the topic, by sleep, and so it started out by describing her, my character Maria, who is from Ecuador also, who likes tangos, she's a linguist. She's in like in a transition. She doesn't know whether to go for mathematics to get a PhD or whether to change gears altogether and go into something else, poetry, writing, literature. And so those are the conflicts within her that come out in the novel. That's part of it. Okay.
What inspired you to write this novel?
Well, it was on my bucket list. That's honest. I'd written a few things, essays, short stories, poems. And so the next thing is the Mount Everest. And that is for writers, which is to write a novel. And so, like I said, it was on my bucket list. It was something I had to do one way or another. I had to come up with something. And then Maria came up, my character, and then Sleep and Dreams.
Oh, wow.
The The business of the sleep is because, like I said, she was an insomniac. And the novel opens in January 1999. And that, by the way, is very significant because the whole novel takes place in 1999
Oh,
for
really?
various reasons. But anyway, she is with so many people during New Year's with the New Year's resolutions. But she's not overweight. She is in good shape. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't do drugs. So why is she there running with everybody? And it is because she wants to get control of her life. During college years, when you have such chaotic life, I mean, you take courses in the morning and then you sleep all night, and that got her completely messed up. She has a teaching job, and now she's just like a square peg in a round hole. She just doesn't fit. And so she's, I mean, we're talking about she goes to bed after 3:30 and she has to get up at 6:30 with 3 hours sleep.
Oh, wow.
And you can do that for a few days. And I know that from experience, of course.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it Monday, you can do it Wednesday, but by Wednesday, the deprivation starts taking its toll. And so, and you make up for it on the weekend. You sleep to your heart's content. So anyway, that was the one of the issues that triggered it, and especially the issue about sleep. So I had to do a lot of research on sleep and just found it so fascinating. The numbers, the things that I could tell you about sleep are just mind-boggling. One in particular has to do with memory, sleep memory. We don't realize, we think we have one memory, and memory works the same for everything, but it doesn't. There is a very distinct difference between sleep memory and conscious memory. They're really as different as night and day. Sleep memory is very limited and is very stingy. You only get about 3 or 4 minutes of memory. And it's usually the things that you remember when you first wake up. Now, conscious memory, you start building on that from kindergarten on. You go through high school, you go through college, through graduate school. You can stick 4 or 5 languages in there. And you can keep loading things into your conscious memory for years and years, up until your 70s or 80s, I guess. But not sleep memory. Sleep memory is so mysterious because who can remember what they dreamed about at 8 o'clock? I mean, when they wake up at 8, what they dreamed at 3:50 in the morning.
Yeah.
That is gone. That is gone. Who can remember what you dreamt last week or 5 years ago? So it's incredible, but it seems to be a big waste.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some dreams that sometimes they get done after they're over, and I'm just like, what kind of wild ass crazy shit was that? They'll be in the future or something, and you're like, what the hell? And there's all sorts of weird shit that goes on in your dreams.
Now, but there are ways. In fact, the question arises: if she can't remember her dreams, how does she write? Because, by the way, the novel was written by her. So how does she remember her world at night? And there are ways to cheat. One way is, of course, you could take a tape recorder right by your bed, and when you first wake up, just record it.
Yeah.
Or you can have a notebook and just jot down the things, which she did, by the way. So over a period of 10 years, you do get a pattern. There are ways that you can, and the dreams that really are impactful, the ones that really make quite an impact on you, you're able to put those into long-term memory. And so you're able to salvage some of it. But most of it just vanishes with the daylight.
Just vanishes with the daylight. So in the book, you talk a lot about this character. Of course, they go through their things. How did Maria meet the constituents of her psyche? What does that mean, too? Establish kind of maybe a storyline on what that means.
All of us are made up of constituents of our soul, of our psyche.
Mm-hmm.
We have libido, for one thing. We have a conscience. And in Maria's case, she had, of course, the libido, she had a conscience, but she also had muses. And her muses were her influences in mathematics, influences in literature. And then she also had oracles, respected old gentlemen that sort of tutored her. And so she has, it's a world. Her dream world was really a world which she visited night after night. And so there was, but the bad thing is, of course, she couldn't remember them. It was only during the night that, they lived. The minute she woke up, they disappeared. And that's, but to answer your question about how she got to meet them and how she got to actually see them, because when at first they were just shadows, they were voices that spoke to her, as that we all hear our conscience from time to time speak to us. But this was more than that. They actually personified themselves. The libido, for example, was really kind of a twin of herself, just a little bit plumper, a little bit more filled out than Maria was, sexier, you might say, from being the libido. And then, but the other ones were not necessarily twins, but just female young women like her. And at first she couldn't see them, but what brought them out was that something happened in her life. She had a next door neighbor, and that next door neighbor always tried to get her to go on a blind date with her. And Maria didn't like that. She had bad experiences with that. So she tried to encourage her and tell her, don't do that. You could get into trouble. But the other one said, oh, no. She thought it was a win-win situation. It was a way to meet men and have a good time and have them pay for going to the bar and so forth. She went out on a date and it turned out to be bad. She got Rohypnol, which is one of these date rape drugs.
Oh, no.
She passes out. And Maria had to help her out, take her to the hospital and everything, because she called her the next morning at home naked and said, Maria, come help. So she took her to the hospital and so forth. And sure enough, she was raped and so forth. Well, that brought out the gals in her dreams. They all wanted to know what happened and how they could get involved with that. So that brought them out. And then Maria made the proposition, since I can't see you when I wake up anyway, what's the point of not being able to see you now? And they said, well, you got a point there. And so they did.
Oh, so that gives us a rundown on that and ideas of what goes on there. At first in the book, you talk about Maria where there were these shadows that only she could hear and they reveal themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about the shadows without blowing the plot of the book?
Well, they're the person that I just finished telling you about, the conscience for one. Then the muses in mathematics, the muses in literature, her professors, the people, the doctors that tutor her not in philosophy, for example. Another thing about Maria is she is the budding atheist. Okay, so she's having issues with God and religion. And so she has these oracles, this respected, wiser old men that are part of her psyche too. And they help her mature and grow philosophically.
So they help her mature and understand what's going on. And let's see. Why is the novel set in 1999?
Well, I was alive in 1999. It was a very significant to be able to say that you lived at the turn of the century. At the time when we changed one decade, one century, and one millennium to boot. It was a big, momentous thing. And, if you're going to write a novel, write about your times, write about what went through your world.
Yeah.
So that's one of the pluses of the novel, that in years to come, people can read at that and find out so many things that happened. And I had to work a lot about that. I had to have a calendar and actually go day by day, so that what happened in her dreams and coincided with what happened in the real world. So, for example, you remember the Columbine massacre in Littleton, Colorado. That was on April 20, 1999. 23 people, I think, were killed and so forth. Anyway, that place in her life. And then there were other things that happened. JFK Jr. died in July of that year.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then there was a little boy that escaped Cuba with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
His mother perished at sea, but the little kid somehow managed to make it to the shores in Florida. And so that made quite a lot of news. But the news it made was not just his survival in the situation, the mother dying, but the fact that there were relatives, I think, in Miami that wanted to keep the child. But the problem arose because the father in Cuba demanded him back. And the time the Attorney General was Janet Reno. She had to make a decision about that, whether to keep the child with the families here or return it to the father. And Janet Reno, by the way, is what I forgot to tell you a while ago about the conscience. The conscience is the only one of all her characters that is amorphous, that changes from day to day. One day she's Abraham Lincoln. Another day she's Janet Reno, the Attorney General of the U.S. So she changes constantly. But for a good part of the novel, Janet Reno is the personification of her conscience.
Wow. So she's into all this stuff.
Yeah.
The first chapter you entitled Know Thyself. Did Maria achieve that in the book, I suppose, maybe?
Absolutely. Yes. That was early on in that chapter. She was taking stock of life, human existence.
Mm-hmm.
And she came. Time, by the way, plays so much of a role in the novel in various aspects, but in particular in this one, the length of our lifetime. Before you're born, the world had been going on for thousands and thousands of years.
What?
After you die, it will go on for, we hope, for thousands more.
Wow.
Your life is just like a little spark between eternities. And that bothered her. Why are the gods so stingy that they just give us 70, 75 years, or at the most, say, 100?
Yeah,
So
what's
even
up with
100
that?
years is nothing compared to the millenniums that you have before and after death. So she wondered, now the people who believe in an afterlife do have something to look forward to. They have the heavens, supposedly, and so forth. But she wasn't sure she believed that. And so, you asked the question, does she resolve that? Oh, yes. By the end of the novel, she has found herself. She knows exactly what she believes, and she doesn't believe in the afterlife, but she can live with it. She matures into. Sometimes we believe things, but we don't mature into them. She did.
And you kind of mature into stuff. I think I've seen that over the course of my lifetime. Now, so you got to find the book, folks, to find out how this turns out and how it works out, right? In the book, you talk about how dreams affect life in the real world. What are your thoughts on that? And how do you play that out, I guess, in the book?
Well, there are just several things, maybe 3 or 4 that you can name right off the bat. There is something called proprioception. And it has to do with the fact that while we're asleep, the brain, by the way, is always on. At least some parts of it are on. Some parts turn off because you don't need your eyes, for example, to see while your eyes are closed. But for other things, the brain has to be on, and it's always on. And what is remarkable, and it has been corroborated by anecdotal accounts, but also by the science, that you go to bed with a problem. Let's say you lose a key or you lose something, a document, and you can't find it. You don't know where you put it. You will search and search all day for it. And then defeated, you go to bed at night. And, the next morning you wake up and there's a big X telling you it's right there. So what was going on that gave you, in other words, you sometimes the saying, sleep over it. And we sleep over it and it does us good. The brain continues to work trying to find the damn thing. Then you wake up, but it could also be a problem. You're working on a theorem in mathematics and you can't solve it. You're stumped.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning you wake up, bingo, there's the answer. That kind of thing happens. And then there's what I told you a while ago about the proprioception. That has to do with the synchronization of the brain and the muscles, your muscles. And it has to do with, they also call it a sixth sense. So you're asleep, but your brain is conscious of your situation. And if you start to fall off the bed, you will wake up. Now, I understand that babies and little kids don't have that. And so that's why cribs have to have fences around them so they don't fall off.
Yeah.
Because
I need one around
sense
me.
hasn't been developed.
I need one around me most of the time so I don't fall out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, there are other things that are a little bit more complicated and more mysterious, actually. For example, you have sometimes a debate with your colleagues or with your friends about something, and you take a position. You will not do this. You will not do that. That's your position relative to the others. Then when the time, when you're awake, comes up for you to make the decision, you change your mind and you realize that the others were right. And the point is, you don't remember what they say. You don't even remember them because it was a dream that was forgotten. But something in that dream told you, no, they were right. And so when it came time for you to make the decision, you did it based on what you had heard.
Well, that makes for great plots for building into movies and stuff, huh?
Well, I hope so, yeah. And there are other things that, like for if I can tell you another one, examples of this, and she was, there was a student that she had because she taught math in high school. She taught algebra and trigonometry. And there was a student who was a loser. Just studying was not his game. He was a punk. But he had dreams about her. Actually, lustful dreams, actually. But in the dream, she got control of him. And that's the thing that really ticked him off, because even in his dreams, she had so much presence and so much control over his mind that he woke up and he decided that he would change his ways. He would change, and she changed him. She wasn't even aware that she had done that, but he did. He decided, I don't want to be a hamburger flipper all my life. And so he realized that education was the light, was the beacon that and he followed it. So it's things like that, the influences that's come to you through dreams, including dreams that you don't remember. And here's another one, the last one that I will throw in, because this is hypothetical. It's just what I suspect. You have people that are so talented. They're great in sports. They're great. They have great singers, or they're great dancers. Where did they get that from? That gift of gab, gift of voice, gift of the talent. And if I told you that it happened in a dream, a muse or a fairy godmother came and put that in you, but you don't remember the dream, that's as good an explanation as you could come up with for something that is real, which is the talent that different people have.
What an interesting spin, a way to write a novel and all that good stuff. Is there any future novels coming out on this? Any future stuff that maybe a continuance or sequels to these books?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I mostly do short stories now, but novels are major works. I mean, this thing took me 10 years to do, so I don't know that I got 10 years left. But yeah, I continue to write all the time, but shorter things that I can manage and that I can finish.
Okay. Yeah. Any anticipated timeline coming out that these things would be at?
Well, yeah, short stories and poems are always coming out. I got they're on the works. I've finished some of them, or others about to be in the rounds to get publishers.
What's the thing that you want people to come away with when they read the book?
Well, of course, that they enjoy it, that they like it, but that they learn something too. They learn.
Oh.
I think the idea of that is expressed in the book is this: the day has 24 hours. Out of the 24 hours, we sleep 8, more or less, on the average. 8, 6, 5, somewhere in there. That happens to be a third of 24. If we, on average, sleep a third of each day, we don't care about the fact that we don't remember it. Oh, well, it's just 8 hours. But when you do the arithmetic over a long span of time, like say 60 years, and you add it all up, it comes up to 20 years out of the 60 that are a waste. Where did they go? What did you do?
Where did they go?
Exactly. That is what Maria wanted to say, that all those dreams, all that world, if I could just bring it alive, you would realize that sleep is not a waste.
Ah. Well, I like sleep. Sleep is really important.
Oh, me too.
I'm into it. That's my thing is sleep. I like sleep. So as we go out, give people your final pitch out to pick up the book and any .coms where they can find you on the interwebs.
The latest web page is Edward Alban, my name, .com. That's it. Visit it, and by the way, it has all my publications. It has all my biographical, my years as a teacher, and married, and how many children we have too. And so anyway, all the personal particulars are there, and also everything I've written, the poetry, the short stories, and so forth.
All the poetry and all that stuff. So you love writing. It'll be interesting to see how this develops and all that good stuff. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, Edward.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in. Order the book where refined books are sold. It's entitled Stealing Forbidden Dreams, out November 10th, 2023 by Edward L. Alban. Thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that should have.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, Edward, great show. Great.